Alright, so I'm going to redo this video. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate my person so that I can work with her. So I'm going to click on my, I'm going to hit W on my keyboard, and then I'm going to click my object selection tool. Any of these tools will work. You can actually click selection, any of them, but I like object selection. It gives me the select subject right here, and they all give these select subjects. So I'm going to click select subject. Alright, so I have my subject, and then I'm going to hit Control J, or I'm going to right click and say layer via copy, and then I'm going to duplicate that layer one more time. So this is going to be my base layer, and this one's going to be my background layer. Right, so nice crisp edge on it. So what I want to do now is I want to start applying some of the filter effects that we're going to use. So I want to decrease the texture on this, so I'm going to go filter, convert for smart filter, and click OK. A smart filter, all it is it's making a backup so that I can't mess with this one. So it'll always keep a backup so that I can always undo what I've done. So I did my smart layer, and then I'm going to go down to blur and Gaussian blur. And this is just a step to kind of smooth out some of the hair and some of the shadow areas, and give it a little bit more contrast in some areas, but also smooth out some things. So I'm gonna take this to about 50%, right, and click OK. And then next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change my blending modes to soft light. Alright, you could also go with overlay as well. I'm gonna go with soft light. Alright, and it's looking pretty good. I see a haze. I see a haze around the image right there. To get rid of that, I'm just gonna create a mask from the previous layer. So I clicked on this layer, and then I hit Control on my keyboard, or Command on my keyboard, and then I'm just gonna make a mask on that layer.
Literally the whole team has Don't you want to look like a stud?
The whole team has it, but you and Kobe.
Don't you want to look like a stud?
Even Tyler got one.
Alright, so I created that mask on there. Alright, and just to make sure, this is a pretty crisp mask. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to knock this back a little bit. Alright, this helps with my dreamy look. So I did my Gaussian filter. Now I'm going to do a vibrance layer. So I'm going to go vibrance, and I'm going to desaturate it a bit. Right, so I have a look that I like. Alright, now what I'm going to do is put both of these into a folder. So I'm going to hold down Shift and select them both, and then click folder and dreamy one. Right, so now I can see how it's making it a little bit more dreamy. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to this layer, and I'm going to hit Control J. So I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to make this into a high pass layer. So I'm going to go convert for smart filters, and then filter, other, high pass. So what I'm looking for is the most highlights and shadows at the same time. So I think that I'm getting that right here. So I'm going to click OK. And I'm going to create a mask on this layer. So I'm going to go select, all, edit, copy. So I'm copying this. I'm going to create a new mask. I'm holding down Option or Alt. I'm going into this, edit, and paste in place. Alright. So I pasted it in place, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my magic wand, select everything that's on the outside, select, modify, expand it, actually I'm going to undo that, so I'm just going to fill this with black. Alright, and then I'm going to go image, adjustments, levels, and I'm going to try to just get my highlights. So I got some good highlights there. Right, and I'm just gonna paint out the areas that I don't want. So I'm gonna paint this. Alright, and now I'm gonna do a blur. So filter, blur, Gaussian blur. Just to soften some of my highlights. Alright, so now I have some highlights on there, and I'm getting a little bit of grays in there. So let me go to my high pass. So I'm just gonna adjust that a little bit. Alright, so now I have some really nice highlights in there. Alright, and it gives it a kind of a dreamy like feel to it. And what I'm going to do, I can go to vivid light to give it a really high or hard light, vivid or hard light, to really give it a nice look to it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the background. So I'm going to place in a background onto this. I'm going to do a solid color. And it doesn't, you can choose what color you want to do. Alright, so I did a solid color for my background layer. Now I'm going to go in and start changing her clothes. So one of the students I was helping out, they wanted a gold background here. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So file, let's place in a gold background. So we have a gold background, and what they wanted to do was to use the gold background to have a texture and then use gold as well on the thing. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to get rid of her clothes and then add in flowers in its place. So I'm going to go to the text layer right here, and I'm going to select her hands. So I'm going to get both hands, and then I hold down Alt to take out areas that I don't want. Okay, so I'm going to do the same on this hand. Right, so I'm going to make sure I have those on a separate layer. So I'm going to right click, layer via copy, hands, and now I'm going to select her clothing. So object selection, oops. So I want to be on the background layer. So this gives me her clothing, and then for the area that I want in here, I'm going to go hold down shift, add that back in. Alright, so that gives me my clothes. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill this with just a shape so that I can use this for later. So solid color. Alright, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some images. So I got these images from the last assignment. So I clicked on heritage type, which was in the Do I Know You folder. So the Do I Know You, and I clicked on heritage type, and I just chose some flowers that I wanted. I chose this purple flowers 02, and I downloaded them. So I'm going to go File, Purple Flowers, open those up, and I'm just going to grab these and drag them into Photoshop. So I got my flowers in there, and I'm just gonna click on Control and click on this right here. And put all these in a group and in a mask. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of this. So select inverse. So now I have my portrait with some flowers in it. And what I can do is I can go in and I can change that around if I like. So these are my flowers, so flowers. Oops. I really like the one with all this one right here. I'm gonna grab that one, duplicate that, so I get some more of that. Right, so now I start to have a look of what I want, and I think it's comes out pretty nice. So I can crop this to frame it how I want. Maybe I do a offset framing. Alright, so one more thing that I forgot to do is I forgot to add some embellishments. So I'm gonna create a layer right here, cheeks, because she always adds some color to her cheeks. So I'm going to choose my color, click OK, and I'm just going to paint my cheeks a little bit. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to change this to color. She looks like a clown right now, but it's okay. I'm just going to knock that back so I get it just to the right amount. Alright, so, oops. And then lastly, I'm going to do her teeth. Selective color. Right, and I think that's it. Alright, so what I'm gonna do is I can command or control click this, and I'm gonna go to my gold layer, and I'm gonna duplicate that. So I have a gold layer right here, outer glow, effects, outer glow, multiply. I think that looks pretty good. Alright, so I'm still seeing some of the edge, but it's not too overt. Alright.